Welcome to the video tutorial for the textured beads fingerless gloves. This glove works up quick and easy. It's got tons of texture. It's very cozy and stretchy. We could do it in a solid, or we can do a two-tone or a stripe. I've also made a coordinating hat, and I'll link the written pattern for this hat in the description for you. This glove and the hat use pretty basic stitches. There's a couple you might not know, but we'll go over them. All right, let's begin.
Okay, to begin our gloves, we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. I'm using a 6.5 millimeter. I'm a very tight crocheter. You probably want to go down to a 6 or a 5.5, or whatever your yarn recommends. I'm using a 6.5. So we're starting with a slip knot, and to begin our cuff, we're just going to chain 10. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you can make your cuff as long, as wide as you would like. I'm chaining 10, so I'll have 9 stitches for my cuff. But if you want to go bigger or smaller, that's totally up to you. I'm doing 9 stitches. So what we're going to do after we chain is we're going to work our way back down in each chain with a single crochet stitch in each chain. I try to make my chains kind of big because they always seem to tighten up on me when I do a chain, and then I have to go back down and work through them. So to begin with, you chain 10 or however many you want to do. Oops. Put a single crochet in each chain stitch all the way back down. I'm hoping to get 9 stitches out of this. Let's see. I've got, I think that's 7, 8, and 9. And I left an extra long tail so that I can join using my tail later. Okay, so here is my 9, the chain 10 for 9 stitches. I worked my way back down with a single crochet. So on each row of our cuff, at the end, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now to get the ribbed effect of this cuff, the first stitch and the last stitch, you'll do a regular single crochet. So we'll just go into this first stitch like a regular single crochet, make our stitch. Then in the middle 7 of mine, we're going to do the back loop only. Here's the regular stitch that you go under. Here's the front loop, here's the back loop. So for the inside stitches, we're doing a back loop only single crochet. Can you see that? Here's the back loop. Just pull your yarn through and do the single crochet. So I'll do this 7 times. I did initially a single crochet. Now I'm doing 7 single crochets in the back loop only, working my way back down. Here's 7 and 8 total stitches. And then on the final stitch, we're going to do another regular single crochet. Go under both of those loops like a regular single crochet. I hope that makes sense. Chain 1, turn your work. So again, the first stitch and the last stitch are going to be regular single crochets. The ones in the middle are single crochet back loop only. So regular, oops, lost my yarn. Regular single crochet on the first stitch, single crochet back loop only in your middle stitches, and then a regular single crochet on the end. Chain 1, turn your work, keep going. Now I'm going to make 15 rows for my cuff. I would recommend maybe around row 12, you start measuring around your wrist or whoever you're making it for to see if it's the right length. And you'll give it a little bit of a stretch, but not much because you want it to fit kind of snug and tight. So again, I'm making 15 rows going back and forth. I'll show you the progress maybe about halfway and go over it again. So I'll pick you up there. Okay, I've done, I don't know, 9 or 10 rows, and I wanted to join back with you to give you another visual. So you can see how it's getting this nice ribbed look, and it's really the same on both sides. There's no right or wrong side. But now that I have more to hold on to, I wanted to do another row to show you again how we're doing it. So the very first stitch, and I've already chained one in turn. So the very first stitch, we're doing a regular single crochet, and then the inside stitches between the first and the last, we're doing a single crochet back loop only. So you just go through that back loop of your V and work your single crochet all the way across until you get to the final stitch, and that final stitch we do a regular single crochet. So this is 8. Now I'm doing 9 stitches total. Here's this last stitch, and we work a regular single crochet in the first and last stitch. It just gives it a nice finished edge, I think. Chain 1, turn your work, and keep going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've done 10. I'm going to go to 15. Again, I would recommend maybe around 12, 13, 14, you start measuring around the wrist of the person you're making this glove for to see how the cuff works. It's pretty stretchy. You don't want to pull it too tight when you're measuring because you want it to fit snug. So I'm going to go to 15, and then I'll join up with you, and we will join the two ends together. Okay, this is the length I'm making my cuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I did 14 or 15, but it fits. I do want to mention that I made another pair for my daughter who has small hands. I used a thinner yarn and a smaller hook and ended up having to make 19 rows. So it definitely depends on your hook size, the weight of your yarn, and just the size you need it to be. So make sure you measure around the person that you're making it for. So there's a couple of ways you can join your two ends together. Again, there's really no right or wrong side. I'm going to have this as my right side. So we can pull the two short ends together. And one way we can do this is just by slip stitching through each stitch. So we'll just take our needle, our hook, go through the first stitch on one side, the first stitch on the other. You grab your loop, you pull it through, and you slip stitch. And you do that on each stitch. And if you go through the second stitch on one side, you go through the second stitch on the other side. Bring it through and slip stitch. I think this is probably the easiest way if you're using one color, because then when you're finished joining these two sides, you'll already have your yarn in the right place. You won't have to cut it and join another piece of yarn. If you're making a two-tone or a striped, you're going to have to cut your yarn anyway. So go ahead and cut it and use a darning needle to sew through each stitch. But since I'm making a solid, I'm just going from one side, grabbing the yarn from the other side, pulling it through, and doing a slip stitch. I hope you can see this. So I think this is the 8th stitch. I'll go through the 8th stitch on the other side, pull it through, slip stitch, and here's my 9th stitch on this side, my 9th stitch on that side, pull it through, and slip stitch. I'll chain 1, I'll turn it inside out, and here's our cuff. And now we're ready to go. Ready for round 1. Okay, before we get started with round 1, I wanted to show you what I was talking about, the difference it makes with your hook size and the type of your yarn. Here's the cuff I just made with a 5-ounce yarn and a 6.5 millimeter hook, and I needed to do 15 rows to go around my wrist, kind of an average adult female wrist. This is a cuff I made, same glove, with a 4-ounce yarn and a 5.5 millimeter hook. So you can see the difference, how much thinner the rows are with the thinner yarn and the smaller hook, and ended up having to do 19 rows with this yarn even though it's smaller. So I just wanted to give you a visual to make sure because the size of your cuff is going to depend on the weight of your yarn and the size of your hook. So I just wanted to show you the difference there. Okay, so let's begin with round 1. We've joined our 2 ends together and we're ready to start. Now, earlier, I think I mentioned that we needed to have our stitch count in multiples of 3 plus 1. Maybe I didn't mention it, but we do. For this pattern, the stitch count matters a lot. So we need a stitch count in multiples of 3 plus 1. What that means is you can do 22 stitches, which is 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 would be 22. Or you can do 25 stitches. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So if you want to go really small, you can do 19, you can do 22. I'm going to do 25. I think maybe a large to extra large would be a 28 stitch. So just make sure whatever your stitch count is, it's a multiple of 3 plus 1. Again, I'm doing 25. So to begin with, I'm going to place a single crochet all the way around this edge as evenly as I can, and I'm going to place 25 stitches. Now people, I know, and I'm the same way, are always like, how do you make them evenly all the way around? Well, you just kind of do. I've seen people use stitch markers and divide their brim or cuff into fourths and then divide their stitch count by 4 and make sure you put that amount in each quarter. I just kind of do it. I mean, it's going to work out pretty much not every row and not really every 2 for every row. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Just place a single crochet as evenly as you can all the way around to get the stitch count that you need. You'll kind of be able to tell when you're halfway. If I'm at maybe 12 or 13 and I'm halfway around, I know I'm spacing them evenly enough. So my goal is to get a stitch count of 25 single crochets all the way around this cuff. And all this is really is a base to work the hand part of our glove onto. So work your stitches, whatever your stitch count is, your multiple of 3 plus 1, all the way around, and I'll meet you up at the end. Okay, I'm at the end of row 1 where I'm placing a single crochet all the way around for a stitch count of 25. So here is 24, oops, and here is 25. Each row, we're going to slip stitch to join and chain 1. Okay, so here's the cuff. Of course, here is our row 1, which is a single crochet, and again, it's just kind of a base row to build the remainder of our glove on. So I'll see you for row 2. Okay, for round 2, now remember we're going to be counting our stitches in each row. I know that's a drag, but we really have to. So I've already chained 1. If you haven't, go ahead and chain 1. And in this row, we're going to be simply working a half double crochet in each stitch around. Start with your chain 1 stitch, go into that same stitch for your first one, and do a half double crochet in each stitch around. Very simple. I'll see you back near the end. Okay, here we are at the end of row 2 where we're doing a half double crochet in each row. Now my stitch count is 25, so this is 23, 24, and 25. We're going to slip stitch to join in that very first half double crochet, chain 1, and we're ready for row 3. Okay, for row 3, we're going to do a half double crochet third loop. Most of y'all know what that is. If you don't, there's some great really quick video tutorials on YouTube for it, but I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. Here's your regular stitch, your V that you normally go under both of those, or if you do a back loop only, you go through that one. We'll bring it towards you a little bit, and here is the third loop. I don't know if you can see it right there. Once you see it, it's easy. It's just finding it the first couple times. You might just be like, I don't know where it is, but it's there, I promise you. You just sort of pull it towards you, jam your hook in there, and there it is. So this row is really my favorite stitch. This row, we're going to put a half double crochet, third loop only, in each stitch around. Again, I hope you can tell what I'm doing as far as where this third loop only is. There's your regular stitch. Here's that third loop. Oops. Oops. Get off. You just put it through there, bring it up, and work your regular half double crochet. Again, there's that third loop. Pull it up. It makes a great little ridge around your work, and it just adds a lot of texture. So go ahead and work your half double crochet, third loop around, all the way around. Remember, count your stitches. Very important in this pattern that you have the correct stitch count. And I'll see you back at the end. Okay, here I am at the end of row 3 where we're doing the half double crochet third loop. I'm on my last couple of stitches, 24 and 25. We'll go ahead and slip stitch to join in that first half double crochet. Let's go ahead and chain 1. And you can see this ridge that half double crochet third loop makes. I really like it. It's my favorite stitch. Okay, the next row, row 4, is going to be our bead stitch row. Some of you may not know that stitch. It's kind of a puff stitch. It's really fun. So I'll join you back for the beginning of that row. Okay, this is the beginning of round 4. I've already done my chain 1, and this is our bead stitch row. And for those of you who haven't done a bead stitch, it's really easy. It's pretty. It's like a puff stitch. So let me show you how to do it. And this is the reason we have to have an exact stitch count on each row, because this is kind of a process. Okay, we're going to start the round with a chain 1. With a single crochet. Sorry, single crochet. Now for your bead stitch, this is a large bead stitch, and we'll end up with 8 loops on our hook. So you don't yarn over. You just go right into your stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it up, pull it kind of up, yarn over, pull up another loop. Now you have 4, yarn over, now you have 6, and do it one more time, yarn over, pull it up, you have 8 loops on your hook. You'll get your yarn and you pull it all the way through all 8 stitches, and you end it with the chain to kind of seal it. So that's a bead stitch right there. You'll skip this next stitch and then you'll repeat the process. You'll do a single crochet, and then in the next stitch you'll do the large bead stitch again. Again, you don't yarn over to begin with. You just go straight in, grab it, pull it kind of up. So you have 2, yarn over, grab your yarn, pull it up. You have 4, yarn over, pull it through. You have 6, yarn over, pull it through. You have 8 loops. Yarn over, pull it through all 8. End it with a chain. Skip the next stitch, do it again. So we'll do this process all the way around, and when you get to the very end, you'll end it with a single crochet, a large bead stitch, skip a stitch, and your last stitch will be a single crochet. But I'll join you up at the end to show you that. Okay, I'm near the end of row 4 where we're doing the large bead stitch. I've just finished a bead stitch with my chain. Skipping this next stitch, do a single crochet. We'll do, in the next stitch, we'll do the large bead stitch. So there's 2 loops, 4 loops, 6 loops, and 8 loops. Pull it all the way through, do a chain, skip this next stitch, and your last stitch of the row, you do a single crochet. We'll slip stitch to join in that first single crochet, chain 1, and we're ready for row 5. So this is the bead stitch row. Adds a lot of nice texture. And we'll only do this one more time, so I hope you didn't find it too difficult. But this is the reason why you need an exact stitch count for when we do this row. Alrighty, I'll see you for row 5.
Okay, so for row 5, we've just finished our bead stitch row, and I've already done my chain 1. On this row, we're just going to place a half double crochet in each stitch around. And we'll start in the same place as our chain stitch. Now, the previous row had some kind of strange stitches, so make sure you pay attention and get a half double crochet in each stitch. Like here's that chain on top of the bead stitch. So make sure you count your stitches, make sure you hit every stitch from the previous row. And so we're just going to place a half double crochet around each stitch, and I'll pick you up at the end. Okay, I'm nearing the end of my row 5 where we're putting a half double crochet in each stitch around. I've got just a few more stitches. Here's the chain on top of one of those bead stitch. So I hope you picked up all of those, and I hope that you're counting your stitches. Very important. So we placed a half double crochet each stitch around. We'll slip stitch to join in that first half double crochet, and we'll go ahead and chain 1, and here's how it's looking. You can push out those little bead stitches to make them pop. Looks great. See you next row. Okay, so for row 6, we're going to repeat a previous row where we did the half double crochet third loop only. So I've already chained 1. There's that third loop right there. So just go through that third loop and finish off your half double crochet. We'll be repeating this stitch, the half double crochet third loop, in each stitch around. Remember to count your stitches. There it is right there. Just pull your yarn through, finish off your half double crochet. So we'll be placing this in each stitch around, and I'll see you back here at the end. Here's the end of round 6. Half double crochet, third loop around, and each stitch around. And let's see, I think I've got one more. There it is. There's that third loop. Finish off your half double crochet. Make sure you slip stitch to join with your first one. And I'll go ahead and chain 1. That's the end of row 6. So you can see that ridge that it makes. It kind of sets off the bead stitch row. I just love it. Okay, row 7, I've already done my chain 1, super simple row. We're just going to place a regular double crochet, in each stitch around. A double crochet in each stitch. I'm doing 25. Make sure you're keeping up with your stitch count. So super, super simple. Double crochet each stitch around, and I'll join you at the end. I'm at the end of row 7. We're placing a double crochet in each stitch around. Here's 24 and 25. Simple, simple, simple. All right, that's my 25th stitch of my row. Hope you're keeping count. Slip stitch to join in that first double crochet. I'll go ahead and chain 1. And that's the end of 7. I'll see you for 8. For row 8, we're using a new stitch for this pattern, and it's a front and back post half double crochet. Here's the post. There's the stitch, but this is the post we're going to be working around. So for the front post, you just go up and under that post, draw your yarn through, finish off your half double crochet. For the back post, you go behind your work, in and around the post, grab your yarn, pull it to the back, finish off your half double crochet. Let's do it again. Front post, you go in from the front, behind that post, grab your yarn, finish off your half double crochet. Go from the back up and around the post, grab your yarn, pull it through, finish off your half double crochet. So we're going to do that all the way around, alternating, and I'll see you at the end. Here I am at the end of row 8. We're putting a front post half double crochet and a back post half double crochet on each stitch around. So here's my front post half double crochet, and I'm ending with a back post half double crochet. Finish it off, slip stitch to join in that first front post half double crochet. Go ahead and chain 1, and there we go. Adds a lot of nice texture, don't you think? Looking really good. So for row 9, I've already done my chain 1, and this is a simple row. We've already done it before, just a half double crochet in each stitch around. So you start where you're in the same stitch as your chain, so you can keep your stitch count. Simply put a half double crochet in each stitch around. I won't be joining you at the end because you know what to do. So all the way around, slip stitch to join, and then I'll see you back for row 10. All right, we're already on row 10. I've done my chain 1, and this is another row that we've done this stitch before. We're going to do the half double crochet in the third loop. There it is. Find that third loop, draw your yarn through, finish off your half double crochet. So we're going to place a half double crochet third loop in each stitch around all the way. Keep count of your stitches. Slip stitch to join at the end, and I'll see you back for row 11. Okay, row 11, we're going to repeat our bead stitch row that we did earlier with kind of the puff stitch. So I'll go over it with you one more time because a lot of you, I'm sure this is a new stitch. We start with a single crochet, and then you go straight into your stitch, and we're going to draw 8 loops up on our hook. So that's 4, that's 6, and 8. Grab your yarn, pull it through all 8 loops. And remember to chain 1 on top of it that kind of seals the end. Skip the next stitch, go right back into that following stitch with your single crochet. Then you follow that with your bead stitch. Remember to kind of pull it up so that it makes it easier to draw your yarn through all those eight loops. So there's 8, draw it all the way through, finish it off with the chain, skip a stitch, and do it again. I'll pick you up at the end of row 11 and see how yours is looking. This is the end of row 11 where we're doing our bead stitch row. So I'm on my last repeat of this pattern. So I'm drawing my 8 loops up onto my hook. There's 8. Draw them through all 8 loops, finish it off with the chain, skip that next stitch, and then your last stitch of the row is gonna, your last stitch of the row is gonna be a single crochet. Don't forget to slip stitch to join at that first single crochet. There you go. Go ahead and chain 1, and that's another bead stitch row. Looks fantastic. Love it. Okay, row 12, I've already done my chain 1. It's another one of these easy rows. We're simply going to place a half double crochet in each stitch around. Remember to look really closely at your stitches from the previous row, from that bead stitch row. Get that chain on top of your bead stitch. But place a half double crochet each stitch around, slip stitch to join, and I'll see you again for row 13. Okay, this is row 13, and this is where we will put our thumb slit for the fingerless gloves. You have to have a place for your thumb. So I've gone ahead and chained 1, and what we're going to do is do half double crochet third loop in the first 5 stitches. So go ahead, that's 1, 2, we're doing half double crochet third loop in the first 5 stitches. That's 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now to make the slit for your thumb, we're going to chain 5. Just chain 5 straight up from your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we have to skip 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now go into that 6th stitch and do a half double crochet third loop. It'll be a little awkward because you're kind of working in mid-air, but it can be done. And now finish off the rest of your row with a half double crochet third loop. However many stitches you have, I do 25, so the remainder of my stitches and yours, you'll do a half double crochet third loop. Okay, so for row 14, we've already done our little chain over here for our thumb. So now we have to sort of continue on top of that. So what we're going to do is in each stitch, we're going to place a double crochet. Doesn't matter how many stitches you are using in your stitch count, these first 10 are going to be the same. You're going to place a double crochet in those first 5 stitches from the previous row. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, I think 4 and 5. And now we have to place a double crochet in each of these chains we made from the previous row. And it seems like no matter how loose I make my chains, they always tighten up on me and give me so much grief. Hopefully you won't have as much trouble as I do. So basically you're going through each of the 5 chains from the previous row and placing a double crochet in each chain. So there's 2. Let's see, here's the 3rd chain, double crochet. Here's 4. And now the last double crochet in the last chain. There we go. So for the rest of the row, there's that thumb slot for your thumb. So now you're back down on regular stitches from the previous row, and just continue to put your double crochet in each stitch. There, you can see it a little better. That's where your thumb will go. So the remainder of the stitches in this row, put a double crochet. When you get to the end, you'll slip stitch to join, and I'll see you for row 15. Okay, we're already on row 15. We've completely done our thumb slot here. And on this row, we're going to be going back to our front and back post half double crochets. Here's the post we're going to be working around. Front post, you go in from the front, up under that post. Pull your yarn through, finish off your half double crochet. For the back, you go in through the back, around that post, pull your yarn through, finish your half double crochet. Let's do it one more time. Front post, you go in from the front, finish it off. Back post, you go in from the back. Grab that yarn, pull it through, finish off your half double crochet. So we'll alternate those all the way around each stitch, and I will pick you up for row 16. We're on row 16. We're almost there. We only have 3 rows left. Hooray. Super simple row. Each stitch around, we're going to place a half double crochet. We've done this several times. Easy peasy. So count your stitches, do half double crochet each stitch around, slip stitch to join at the end. We're almost there, folks. See you for 17. Row 17, another super simple row. Already done my chain 1. This row, we're going back to the half double crochet third loop. I had to get one more row of my favorite stitch in. Just add some texture, super simple stitch. I really love how it's going to finish off the top of our glove. So half double crochet third loop, each stitch around, and I'll see you back for our final row. We made it. We're on our final row. Hooray. This final row, we're going to be placing a single crochet back loop. Not third loop. There's front loop. Here's back loop. Single crochet, back loop only. Each stitch around is just going to give us a nice finished edge. So place one of those in each stitch. I'll pick you up at the end and we will finish off our glove. All right, we're at the very end. We've placed a single crochet back loop only. This is my final stitch. Finish it off with a slip stitch to join. And ladies and gentlemen, we are finished. I'll cut the yarn. I'll go ahead and loop it through just to tie it off a little bit. I'll weave my ends in later. So, we made it. Here's our fingerless glove. What do you think? It's got some beautiful texture. It's nice and cozy. It's stretchy. I think it just looks amazing. Works up super fast, don't you think? Of course, you'll have to make another one. You can make 2 in the time you can make a hat or less. So I think it just looks gorgeous, and I'm super glad that you joined me today in making this new pattern for fingerless gloves. If you enjoyed the tutorial, hit like, hit subscribe. There'll always be more to come. Until then, happy hooking.